Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Dallas, Texas, put your hands together for Christopher Sabat.
Woo!
So, I just had to walk a bunch of long hallways at night. I felt like such a wuss the whole way because on Friday, the day I was supposed to fly here, Thursday, I guess. I thought I would be like the only person who's ever bought a one wheel that didn't hurt himself on it, and that proved out to be very wrong. Do you guys know what a one wheel is?
Yes.
Yeah, they're dangerous. They're fun, but they're dangerous. I thought literally, is it I'm far enough away from you guys? Can I take this off for just 1 second? I am. Sorry. Please get vaccinated if you can, because I've been vaccinated so many times it hurts. I had a friend that went in and got his third vaccination before you were even able to go get one. He just went in and told CBS, I'm just going in for my first shot. And they went in and gave another one. So, anyway, weird thing is, his body, is attracted to, refrigerators and stuff because it's magnetic. Crazy. But yeah, so I had literally the slowest accident of all time. It wasn't even an epic, going 14 miles an hour or whatever, ripping around, falling off of it. It was one of those just my daughter needed something, and if you don't get off the thing the right way, it'll just pull one of your leg. And I did this really very, inelegant split. And I'm scared to go back and look at the camera that was in the driveway, because I just don't even want to see how embarrassing it looks. I'm the voice of All Might in a show called My Hero Academia. I think that's right.
Woo!
And I cannot believe that it's been this successful. Funimation every few years has a show where they're like, oh, this show is going to be real popular. People really like this one. But I've never seen anything quite like this My Hero Academia thing. It is so nice because My Hero Academia fans are the most diverse fans I've ever seen, little kids and adults and everybody. Whereas at Dragon Ball, it used to be little kids, but now they're all adults. And they're all way more fit than I am. They're work out every day. And I'm I wish I could be inspired. Besides take a nap after working on that show. And so yeah, My Hero Academia fans are just so they're just sweet and everyone's nice, and I'm really grateful to be a part of such a cool show, especially to play such a great character at such a great time. I feel so I've done a few other roles in anime throughout my career, actually, believe it or not. I've been doing this a very long time, and a lot of people ask me, how do you get into the voice acting business? And I say, well, the easiest way is to just sort of show up and be the first person at a production company that's about to produce anime, and be the first actor there. Find another Funimation and be their very first actor and just stick around for 20 years. A bunch of good roles. So yeah, I started my career working on a show called Dragon Ball Z. Have you guys heard of that one? Yeah.
Woo!
And it's still going. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be this job I had for a year or summer or something like that. And 20 years later, we're still doing it. And every time I think it's over, the show is standing there like any Dragon Ball villain, just kind of the smoke clears and it's still standing there and it's still breathing. I'm still here. Oh God, here we go again. But yeah, after that show, I worked on a show that a lot of people watched, but everybody thought they were the only person watching it. It was a show that came on late at night, and I think most of your parents didn't even know how violent and dark this show was. But it was a show called Yu Yu Hakusho. Have you guys watched it? He just sounds like dumb Vegeta. Vegeta's here. And Kumara is the same thing. That's dumb. It's like Vegeta and Yamcha had a baby, sort of. Or Vegeta and Raccoon, maybe, because it's That's another voice I did.
His name was Raccoon, and every time I voiced him, I made him sound dumber, and then finally someone said, it's almost offensive dumber, and then I had to make him a little smarter.
But yeah, I feel like all these shows though, Zorro and One Piece, if you guys are familiar with that, like there were many great things that happened. Like the pandemic was not good for many things, but the only thing it might have done would give people enough time to actually watch that series. That was just a show where you're like, I'm on this show called One Piece. We're like, cool. I'm like, it's got 800 episodes right now. Come on, just catch up. It'll only take you a half a year. I remember there was a guy at Funimation, one of the marketing guys, that did this thing where he tried to marathon all of One Piece like in a row, and he legitimately couldn't finish. He went a few days and then just kind of said like, I can't do it anymore. I have to stop, because he wasn't like, he just stayed in the same room all night trying to watch it too, and it was just too much for him. But I think if you do it in a normal fashion, it's pretty cool. And the show's getting really good. I'm very excited about where One Piece is at the moment. And of course, clearly the dub is not where the manga is, but it's finally starting to go somewhere, which is cool. I can't remember if this was meant to be a My Hero Academia panel or not. But, sorry. I'm All Might in that show. So I guess the whole point is that I feel all of these roles that I had over the years, like Tsubasa and just all these other shows have really prepared me to be this character right now. Like I could not have gotten that character at a better time in my life. I've got 2 kids, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, and they're both girls and they're awesome. And like playing All Might at this moment in my life with all of this training, playing all of these other characters, and then having 2 daughters and thinking a lot about like passing on skills and how much like, the next generation means. Like it was just the perfect storm of things to happen. And so, unfortunately, I cry half the time I'm working on that show. Like every episode that you guys think is a little upsetting is really upsetting to me. For some reason, it's just like such a tearjerker. I could barely make it for like those first 2 episodes wrecked me. They were just too much. But I'm very, very grateful. So yeah, My Hero Academia, awesome show. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night. That's it. I think so. I could have you guys line up and ask questions, or I could just pretend that you guys are there and asking questions and just answer the questions you would have asked me anyway. Like, if you could have any one quirk, what would it be? And I had a deal with Justin Briner, the guy, you guys are familiar with him, he plays Deku. We had when we were first like going to the Comic-Cons promoting this show, when it first came out, we made a deal with each other, like we're always going to answer that question a different way. If we can, because we're going to probably get it live. So let's see, for this weekend, it will be, my quirk, I wish it could be that I could balance on any object, no matter what it is, and that would be my quirk. Then I wouldn't have a hurt hamstring. Let's see, someone would be like, if you, like, I was at a con a couple of weeks ago, and like all the questions, like literally, they were all different people asking them, but all the questions were like super depressing. They're like, if you could kill one character, that's like, that's horrible to think about, Mineta. There's a mother in here that I spoke to, I think yesterday. She was with her son, coolest kid, young, probably like 7, maybe, just knew everything about My Hero Academia. It's almost like a little, like Midoriya himself. And I was like, do you watch this show? Well, apparently he said, my mom calls this show My Kung Fu Academia because she doesn't like it. I'm like, have you ever watched it with him? Because it's a really good show. She goes, well, I watched a little bit, but every time I see that Mineta kid, I have to have a conversation with my son to go like, and we're better people than this. We're not this. And people were like, if you could, if like your character wasn't in the show, what would you think? I'm like, well, don't ask me questions like that. I don't want to hear that. And then people ask the ship question, which of course, you know, whatever works for you guys is great. But I don't like ship the characters, but I do have this fantasy that like, and this is not a ship by any means, is that all like Midoriya's dad is actually there. He's at home. Then every time All Might comes over, the guy never comes out because he just watches TV in his room or something like that. So technically, Midoriya's dad's just like a sports junkie or something. It's like, is that stupid superhero guy here still? Let me know when he leaves because he's super annoying. That's my fantasy. Either that, if he doesn't exist, I hope that in the show someday, like, you know, All Might and Midoriya's mom date or something. That's my thought. At least they're of age, so that's good. The other ships get really weird. But actually, I probably should open this up to some questions. I have to warn you all, I don't read too far ahead in the manga because, I did when I first got the role because I wanted to know as much as possible going into it, but now I actually enjoy the surprise of what's to come. I did talk to someone today that like started hinting that there's something kind of foreboding in one of the future episodes of the manga, and I'm like, that's why I don't read it, because one day I'm going to read it and All Might's not going to be alive and that's going to kill me. That can't happen. But I know it's not going to happen. You heard it right here first, because I met the creator of the show. His name is Horikoshi Sensei. Super cool dude, does not actually like to be on camera or filmed at all. He like wears a mask in front of his face. This is pre-COVID. Super shy, but very cool. And I followed him like a creeper. We had a dinner one time, and I know that if you wait long enough, like for some reason in Japan, a lot of people still smoke. Don't smoke; it's terrible for you. But in Japan, some people still do, and a lot of the creatives do there. So I figured, like, I bet you he's a smoker. So when he left the table, I kind of like went outside and followed him out there. And I was like, hey, how's it going? All Might. Weird, I just came out here to stand here. That's so strange. Weird at the same time. I said, I'll give you $50 if you don't kill All Might. Like, I literally told him $50. He says, oh, I cannot take your deal. I'm like, but look, you don't have to, but seriously, you don't have to kill him. And if you do, you can always use the Dragon Balls to wish him back, right? He goes, that's we'll consider that. We'll see. Hopefully he will think about the money that he can make from me by not killing All Might. Anyway, so do you all have some questions? Because I would be happy to answer some. In fact, instead of having like people line up at the microphone, why don't we just like have you yell it or something like we used to back in the old days? Todoroki girl. Well, luckily I get to play two versions of All Might. The big old beefy version of All Might and the All Might that girls like. I didn't realize that was going to be the case, but I've met so many ladies who have come up and like, I love Weekend All Might. He's just so weak and frail. And he has to smile. And he's like got emotions and stuff. And he talks about his emotions sometimes and his secrets about how weak he is. There's something that girls like, let's see, if I could play another character, like when the show first came out, I was like, man, I really think that Bakugo would be a cool character to play, but also the worst character to play. And I think that, well, okay, Mineta has the worst role, but in terms of vocal health, the Bakugo is the worst role because it's just it's like another Vegeta role where everything he says is out of screaming volume. And I would not wish that upon my worst enemy. And Clever Chapin is not my worst enemy. He's just a glutton for punishment. I've have a story about Clifford. I met Clifford Chapin at the studio before he was a voice actor at Funimation. And I own a recording studio in Dallas and I have one in Los Angeles, but the recording studio in Dallas, we were celebrating the first day of not having anything to do. Like we had never had a day where we weren't recording something, and for whatever reason, on this one day, we didn't have any sessions. So we played this Flaming Lips album that you have to play on like multiple systems at the same time, and you have to start it all at the same time. It's a weird album. And we were just, everything was super loud in the studio. We were all like kind of cleaning up our workstations and stuff. And I got a call from a client, like a big client. I was like, oh crap, it's really loud in here, hold on, I will go outside and talk to you. And I opened the door, and Clifford was standing there with a CD in his hand. And he looked like he had just been practicing what he was going to say when I opened the door, but I surprised him, I guess, by opening it first. He goes, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, he goes, I was going to give you my demo. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I am on the phone with the client, and it's really loud in there. I am so sorry. Hold on one second. Hold on. Client, hold on one second. And then I run back. I'm like, hey, engineer, this guy was outside. Take his demo, or whatever. And I kind of ran off. And I normally don't big time people like that, but this was a client that I needed to talk to. And I never really got a chance to talk to him much, but after I got off the phone and we didn't have anything to do, I was like, hey, that kid, let's play his demo real quick. And we played it, and it was like, he's really good. We liked him. So we ended up calling him in and using him. It was just a really freak circumstance. And then I think that's how Clifford, I think how he came into the Funimation family in a huge way. And I'm very glad that he's here because he's super, super talented and very, very dedicated. Like he's perfect for Bakugo because he's a very intense individual. Like he takes everything very seriously. All right. Wow, more questions. I'm gonna get to you in a minute. Oh, whoa, that's an intense wave. What? What's my favorite Netflix series? I gotta think about what streaming services I like certain things on. This isn't like my favorite series on Netflix, but I'm gonna mention it anyway because many people haven't heard of it. It is a German Netflix series called Dark. Have you guys ever seen it? And what's weird is I'm like, don't hate me, but I am, when it comes to live action, kind of a subs over dubs kind of guy. I usually like to watch subtitles when I'm watching a film because it's only, an hour and a half worth of time. And you can, I can be focused for at least that long, but a long series, I like to be able to be on my computer and stuff like that and do other things. So I watched Dark's dub, which I thought was really good. And it is the craziest series. You all should check it out because it's wild. I hesitated watching it because I thought it was going to be some like horror series or something. That's actually like this weird series about like alternate universes and time travel and stuff like that. And I would highly recommend it. And the dub is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It takes a minute to get used to, but once you do, it's like awesome. Maybe kind of like what you guys do for us. So thank you. Yes, person who makes the stand up real quick. She made this jacket, by the way. Look at this jacket. She did an All Might one too, which she showed me earlier, and it is so freaking cool. Look at this. You have to turn around because most people are not like.
Oh, that is cool.
Sorry, now that I've embarrassed you fully, what's your question? Sure, she's asking about like she's heard, like this is the first time hearing of this, but I'm not a source for this, but apparently you've heard that there might be a My Hero Academia live action series. Is that true? Can this room confirm that? Like, okay, I see some people. All I'm hearing is mumbling from behind masks, which sounds kind of like some people know some things. So there might be something or might not be something happening. I don't know, man. I have a really hard time I have a really hard time with adaptations of anime for some reason. I have a hard time. Marvel seemed to do it, I know it's not anime, don't yell at me. But the superhero genre kind of worked in that way, but I have a really hard time stomaching, like I saw an image of, for instance, the One Piece animated series, and it's just too shocking for me to look at. Like I'm so used to the characters the way I'm used to seeing them. I'm not saying, like I have no idea how I feel about the One Piece live action thing, but I don't know, man. I don't know. People always wanted a live action Dragon Ball Z movie, and they got one of those. Needless to say, people didn't like it so much. However, I always tell people, like, if you want to see the live action Dragon Ball Z movie, you should watch a Chinese film called Kung Fu Hustle. That's Dragon Ball Z right there. That's an amazing film. But I'd love to see, I like that anime has become such an important thing, such a big thing, and all part of it, that people are attempting to do really cool mainstream stuff with it. So whether, if the first one doesn't work, fine, but eventually somebody's going to pick it up and they'll try it again. And I think it's kind of rad that we're all here during this time when anime is so big. I promise I'll get back to you, so I'll answer your question. Yeah.
Does it have to be a My Hero question, or can it be a general Chris Sabat?
You can be a general Chris Sabat question if you want.
So this one I'm guessing you've probably never been asked before, but do you know of the very amazing voice actor DJ Sextillionaire?
DJ Sextillionaire. I have heard rumors that this amazing voice actor exists. You see him occasionally pop up on weird titles that actors wouldn't want to put their names on and stuff like that. But I heard that he's a French DJ from France that does like remixes and stuff in his spare time and does these things called like laptop death matches or something, where they compete against, like, someone on their laptop is making music and competing with somebody else on their laptop to make cool things. But other than the rumors and like the things that people told me about him, I've never formally met the guy. But yes, you.
I was curious, how did you discover Funimation? Because I know the story of Dragon Ball Z, but I don't know how you found out of Funimation.
I found about Funimation because I was going to school at University of North Texas, and I had a friend that I played in a band with whose wife was a person who did all of the rotoscoping for the different scenes. Like, rotoscoping is when they take the film and they take bad things out of it, frame by frame. So they were the people who like turned, the shirts that said hell on it to HFIL so it could be on TV. Or they were the ones that turned Master Roche's beer into like a grape soda. And that's where a rotoscoper has to go through, and a rotoscopist has to go through frame by frame and just like color and color and color and color, or change something frame by frame to fix it. And she had said, hey, you worked in radio and you like to do weird voices. I work for this tiny company and we're auditioning for this show, this Japanese show, and you should come audition for it. And so I did. And I got the part of Yamcha in this direct-to-DVD version of Dragon Ball called Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle. And I found out a month later that it was sort of a test to see whether they could dub Dragon Ball at all in Texas. And they asked if I was interested in coming on board to help cast and direct the show. So I did. And there were about 5 people who worked there at the time. And now the company has more money than, now back then they could barely afford a good coffee machine, but right now they can afford $1.3 billion on another company. So they're doing pretty well. Funimation's doing pretty good for themselves. So, other questions? Yes, from. Yeah.
So do you have any voice acting tips for people who like want to start out voice acting?
Voice acting tips by Christopher Sabat. when I meet people, and I have a lot of people that come up and ask me about like, hey, how do you be a voice actor? What are some tips you can give me, or what could you do? I always feel bad because depending on where we are, the answer can be very different. Like my experience getting into voice acting is wildly different than everybody else's. And everyone I know, their experience was wildly different than everybody else's. Because when I came up in it, voice acting really wasn't a thing that was something you did, especially in Texas. I didn't realize you could even do it as a career. But especially when I meet people in places like Boston, like changing gears, Boston actually is close enough to New York and there's probably a lot of production in this town, so there's a chance that there is some voiceover to do in this town. So I don't have to answer the first question, which is you kind of need to somewhat live in a market where a lot of voice acting is done if you really want to start working in it aggressively. However, I usually ask people first to figure out why it is they want to be a voice actor to start with. Is it they like to use their voice? They like to do funny voices, or do they like anime so much that they want to be closer to that thing they love so much? Or do they want to go to conventions and sign autographs for people? I mean, that's a legitimate reason to want to do it. So I usually try and ask people like, what's your spirit? What is it you really, really want to do? Because all the voice actors I know, with exceptions to like, a handful of them, usually do other things too. They're also video editors, or they work in a production company, or they write scripts, or they're a producer, or they're a director. So my advice to anyone who's interested in getting into voice acting is like really try and do something else too. The first thing you should probably do if you want to really, if you decide that voice is what you want to do, is learn how to record yourself really well at home. Study recording techniques. You don't have to buy the most expensive microphone right away, but you do need to learn how to record yourself. Listen back to yourself, become comfortable with your own voice, because you very well might get an audition somewhere, and God forbid they bring you in to do your first audition, and they put headphones on you, and you're in a really like high-class studio, and they've got your headphones up really loud, and it's nerve-wracking to be in a room like that for the first time. So you want to be as armed as possible with as much experience as you can on your own before you get into a real situation, because you don't want to blow it the first time you get a chance. My second bit of advice is to find a community, take classes, find people who are teaching and learn from them, or find other people who are interested in being voice actors. Find an online group. In fact, that's what Clifford Chapin and Justin Briner and Kellen Goff were all part of, this online kind of dubbing group together. And you just support each other, and you do what you want to do. If I had other advice for you, I would say make friends with people who make stuff, because people who make stuff need people to help them. And if you can be there helping them make things and they eventually need a voice, you can step in and do what you want to do. And I'd say right now, you really just need to fully prepare yourself for everything, because the people who want to be voice actors now have a lot of competition. And I've noticed that the voice actors that are coming in these days, they know what they're doing, they understand voiceover, they're very practiced, and all of those things I told you, they've already got locked in, they're ready to go. So if you really want to do it, I mean, there's just a lot of work that goes into it. I would advise against you just learning how to do only impressions of things. Those are good, they're useful, but if you can't take that impression and turn it into something else that's unique, then people aren't going to hire you to be Bart Simpson or something like that on a show. It's good practice, but definitely learn how to find your own voice and create your own characters and stuff like that. I could spend an hour talking about this, but that's kind of that's what I would start with. There you go. Oh man, so many questions. Okay, you got my attention because your hand is waving so violently. Yes?
Okay, so, when it comes to like the inflection of Japanese voice actors versus the inflection of the dub, like for example, in the Japanese version of All Might, there's that heavy emphasis on the right? And that sort of thing, versus, yours is a lot more open and loud.
If you couldn't hear him, he was talking about like the difference between translating inflections of the Japanese version versus the English version. A lot of us, we listen to the Japanese each take. We listen to what they did first to kind of get an idea of what they're doing. However, you can't really, unless you speak Japanese and you really know Japanese well, it's very misleading to try and interpret what their version of what their emotion is in some cases. So you really have to I can get a general idea, but I don't get as granular as listening for just certain inflections on certain things. We listen for the general spirit of what they're doing, and then we watch the mouth movement because what they're saying and the mouth movements don't oftentimes line up in the Japanese version. We need to make ours work for the English version, which we're hoping to look as close to accurate as possible. So, in a lot of cases, we just, we use that for just kind of get a general idea. What I love to do is just and this is a skill you get when you dub a lot, you get used to using your voice and matching mouth movements and looking at the script and looking at the video at the same time. That's a level 1 skill. But once you master that, what you're looking for when you're watching the preview of it, you're listening to the voice going, okay, that's what it sounds like, but you're watching the screen to see exactly what that character is doing. Is he tilting his head a certain way, or is he opening his mouth a certain way? What sort of vowel sound is he making, or what? I'm looking for little details to kind of inform what my read is going to sound like. And if he's standing up in the middle of the read, I might do something to change what it sounds like halfway through, or if his body changes position, I might change my read sometimes during that. But in general, we kind of do our own thing. We don't lean too heavily because there are just so many misconceptions about what a Japanese emotion sounds like. One of the weirdest sounds when I went to Japan the first time. One of the weirdest things is when we are talking to somebody, and I go yeah, man, I've had this hat forever. Your friend might go, oh, okay. But in Japan, they'll go, and I thought, are you making fun of me right now? But it's a legit sound. That's a oh sound to them. So it's very difficult to interpret some of those things. Yes, Midoriya, right there. Yes. Oh, you do have Old Mike's face on, but that's okay. How's it working on the show? It's fine. It's okay. It's cool. It's whatever. No, it's amazing. It's working. The beautiful thing about working on the show is we do it in a way that's different than we used to do it back in the day. Because back when I worked on Dragon Ball, we would record the show and then maybe a year or two later it might be on TV or something. Wow. But with My Hero Academia, it's a week later it's on TV and it's so cool. And then maybe a week later, I might even see you guys at a show. And so there's all this instant feedback that you get. And the other great part is I get to work with Colleen Klinkenbeard. And Colleen is one of my oldest, dearest friends. She's the voice of Momo, if you're familiar with her. And she is an amazing director. She's amazing at casting. And hands down, one of the most talented people in the entire business. So getting to work with her is a serious joy. And so I love it. Oh man, so many question options. Hold on, I haven't done, way over here. Way in the back over there, green shirt, yes.
Alright, so you're prolific, right?
What'd you say?
You're prolific.
Prolific, yes.
How do you take care of your voice?
I don't know. I wish I could say I had some sort of magical thing that I do, but I really don't do anything special. If I do anything, I try not to do too many impressions of Vegeta at conventions, because that kills me. I try and I try and get a good night's sleep if I can before I know I'm going to have a long session, and I try and hydrate a lot. I mean, that's about. Some people have all these weird things they do, and they have to suck on lemons and then stand on one knee and then do tongue twisters and stuff. And I'm just all right, okay. I make sure I've spoken to someone before a session. Like I remember back when I was working at Funimation a lot, like having to drive to their office way when they had an office farther away. I would like call my mother because she was the only one I knew who would be up at that time, and she just thought it was so cool that I'd call her every day. It's more like, yeah, I'm just warming up my voice, but that's kill two birds with one stone. Yes. Okay, how do I feel about the movies? I love, across the board, I kind of love all anime movies, especially when you get to go see them in the theater. Because seeing anime in the theater, especially when they, really put on a great presentation and they bring out their best artists and put out their best work, I love seeing anything in the theater. When I saw the double Detroit smash in a theater, like I just freaked out. Like it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. When I went to go see a Dragon Ball movie in the theater for the first time, and we saw the Japanese version first. Like I saw Vegeta do something epic, and like my heart raced. And like when you're just captured in that theater, everything's big and everything's larger than life. That's the best way to watch anything. So I love the movies a lot. Sure. Go ahead. You were so quick. Hi, the girl. Oh yes. Oh yes, you're my favorite person. That's why.
If you had like one sidekick, would it be either Izuku or Cosmo?
Oh, if I would want a sidekick? Ooh, man. I mean, in real life, because I wouldn't. If I wanted a sidekick in my real life, it'd be just more like a personal assistant. I'd want someone like Midoriya, obviously, because he'd be good at going to do things like getting my dry cleaning and everything. Bakugo would be the worst, because he would never do anything. I would say if All Might did want a sidekick, I really do think Midoriya is a perfect counterpart to him, because All Might has the strength, at least, for 45 minutes or so. He doesn't necessarily need that kind of anger with him all the time. I think he and Midoriya are a perfect pair. Which I don't know if that means anything creepy. Okay. Gun hand person.
Shigaraki.
Oh, Shigaraki's hand person. High five. Shigaraki is like such an amazing character, but like one of the most awkward things to see people have to cosplay. Just have a hand dangling from their face all the time.
It's not the best.
It's just like it obstructs your vision,
What was your favorite part of working on Full Metal?
My favorite part of working on Full Metal Alchemist was the fact that I had never played, other than Ayame and Fruits Basket, I had never played a character with so much like gusto before. Like, yeah, strong lands for generations. Which, by the way, All Might is basically the same voice as Armstrong, except not like Armstrong has his jowls singing to him, and then All Might does not. You're welcome. I love working on Full Metal because that feels to me like another one of the shows, like what we're working on today. Like Full Metal and My Hero Academia, I think are very similar in terms of how beloved they are with their fan base and how much it means to fans to watch it. So it also just dealt with like really emotional subjects like this in a very grand way. So I love that show a lot. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many options. Right in the middle, intense face.
So this is kind of a weird one, but there are some people who they don't just roleplay the characters, but they roleplay the actors too.
Oh, really? People roleplay the actors? I like cosplay them? Oh man, that's awesome.
Oh
I think
no.
the most important thing to know whenever you're going to roleplay as me is that I am terrible at roleplaying. So the first item, it's almost like the first rule of Fight Club. There's no Fight Club. The first rule of Chris Sabat in a role-playing form would be that there's no know that. That's so bizarre. Okay, stand up again. I'll just tell this joke in front of a billion people now, but like every time I see people in this cosplay here, I always ask why they decided to cosplay as Doritos. I love that costume so much, but it does look like it's just got corn chips on it. The jacket is just queso. I'm gonna get one in the far back corner over there. Yes, right there, yes.
Could you say something in an All Might voice All Might would never ever say?
Let's see. What's it? Okay.
Everything is terrible now. Why? Because I am leaving.
That's the only thing I come up with. Then I'll also like,
Midoriya, I hate you.
let's see. Okay, far left with a hand going like this. There you go. Second row. Okay.
If you were going to date Midoriya's mom, what would be your pickup line can you say in All Might
Pickup line. If All Might were, that's a.
Well, so I
Like, would he be like? I guess if he was going to pick up someone, he probably would assume that he has to be in his buffed out version. He'd have to be like complete full might, all might. Even though he doesn't realize that really what women want is the weekend one.
I basically have your son's dad, so we can hang out maybe.
I can imagine All Might being so bad at picking up anybody. Like he's so used to being famous and having people all around him that I could imagine him just fumbling around trying to ask anybody out. I think it'd be really cute. Yes, and blue hair, yes. Yeah!
Let's say All Might was hit by a quirk that makes him speak in a southern accent.
Then it'd be fun on Lego. Speaking of southern accent, it's fine now. Just I'm here. You're welcome. Correct.
Let's see. I guess you're literally right there. So.
How do you feel about voice actors using platforms like Twitch and YouTube to sort of get their portfolio out there?
Voice actors using Twitch and YouTube to get their portfolio out there. I say, hey, however you want to get your portfolio out there, it's great. Like, I think some of the stuff that some of the voice actors are doing is awesome. In fact, personal opinion, some of my favorite content from the voice actors that I know actually comes from the guy who plays Sir Night-Eye. His name is Brandon McGinnis. Have you seen his TikToks at all? He's amazing because what people don't know about Brandon McGinnis, who plays Sir Night-Eye, my hero academia, is that he's completely fluent in Japanese. He used to be a translator, and he is so talented. In fact, I hate him because he's so talented, but I also love him because he's so talented. I think he's hysterically funny, and if you ever happen to see him, ask him to please do his like impersonation of like Japanese person speaking French or something like that. Like he's really, really talented, and I highly recommend anyone checking him out. I have no idea what his handle is on. Oh yes, the person having a small seizure right there. What? Thoughts on who? Dharma Man? I don't even know who you're talking. Like I feel really old now. Sorry. Is he the All Might with the southern accent? Is that his name? Oh, do you mean Garmin? Oh, they're a great GPS. It's a great GPS company. Great, excellent global positioning. One more question. Second from the, like in this back row. Oh, Midoriya, right there. There you go.
Why do you enjoy being All Might?
Why do I enjoy being All Might? Because he's All Might. Come on. He's such an amazing character. He's a dad. He's he's kind of a dad type. He's like super crazy strong. And then he has like a weak form that's even like more relaxing to play. I don't have to kill myself. But then in bursts, I get to do like the most epic, insane, loud stuff that I was born to do. And because it gets me to shows like this, and I get to meet people like you, and I really thank you for letting me take this time to talk with you guys today. Thank you for letting me take off my mask this week.
You can